Peppa and George were playing in the park when suddenly some balloons started floating in the air.
Oh!
Both of them decided to chase after the flying balloons, but they kept floating higher and higher. George jumped as high as he could to catch one, but sadly, he still couldn't reach it. Peppa found a chair to climb on, stretching her hands out, but the balloon floated even further away. Finally, one balloon gently floated down near Peppa and George, and they were thrilled to catch it. Peppa and George realized that sometimes the simplest joys bring the happiest moments. Peppa and George couldn't believe their eyes.
Wow.
A giant truck was parked right in their yard. This truck is not only big but full of strange things inside. Peppa is curious and wants to try them all. George tried to push the giant wheel, but he might need a bit more strength to move it. No worries. Peppa decides to drive the giant truck, but it seems it's not as easy as she thought. Sometimes all it takes is a little push on the gas pedal to start an adventure, even if it's a bit out of control. Finally, the truck stops, and Peppa and George realize one thing. Sometimes, the fun starts with the most random things. Peppa and George decided to join a race. But not an ordinary race, it's a trash truck race. Trash trucks may not be fast, but Peppa and George can do anything when they're determined. The race gets more exciting as both trucks speed through obstacles. However, no race is without surprises, and Peppa couldn't escape this trap hole. No one wins when there are too many obstacles, but at least both had fun. The race ends, but Peppa and George realize that having fun is more important than anything else. Peppa and George's walk today suddenly turned into an adventure with a giant balloon. The balloon flies easily, but does Peppa have enough strength to hold on? Don't worry, Peppa. George won't let you fly too far. Or at least, that's what she hopes. Go! And then, the balloon takes Peppa higher. No way to come back. Peppa realizes that a flight isn't always smooth, but at least it's fun. Finally, the balloon gently lands Peppa back on the ground, and George is ready for his next race with the balloon. Peppa and George were amazed when a giant ball rolled toward them. The ball was too big, but Peppa didn't give up and decided to push it. The rolling ball created funny circles, making Peppa laugh non-stop. George joined in, helping Peppa to control the giant ball together. When the ball hit a puddle, huge splashes sprayed everywhere, making them laugh even more.
Oh!
Finally, they realized that sometimes the greatest fun is just a giant ball and your own laughter. Peppa and George couldn't believe their eyes when they saw a piece of bread flying through the air. They decided to chase the flying bread, but it was fast and looped around like a plane. It seemed like this piece of bread wasn't easy to catch, and it took a quick break on a tree branch. Surely this bread knew how to play tag, and Peppa seemed to be its favorite target. After an adventure, Peppa finally caught the flying bread and smiled happily. Finally, Peppa and George realized that sometimes the best adventures are when you can enjoy the fruits of your efforts. Peppa and George are ready for the dance contest. But there's a secret. Not everyone knows how to dance like Peppa. Never doubt Peppa's creativity, even if it's a super spin move instead of a dance step. George isn't any less. It's just that he hasn't fully developed his shoestring dance potential yet.
Hello.
Sometimes a graceful dance ends with a free fall, at least for the bunny. Whether winning or losing, what matters is everyone can laugh and dance happily. With Peppa, every day is a day to dance and laugh out loud. Never thought that an afternoon walk would turn into a disco under the streetlight. This streetlight is like a DJ, and soon enough Peppa became the main dancer of the party. This might be the new dance craze in the park, and maybe only Peppa can do it like that. After non-stop dancing, Peppa decided to stop. But the streetlight didn't know what giving up meant. In the end, Peppa realized one thing. The streetlight in the park never stops partying. But Peppa could finally go home. The fun ended, but Peppa would never forget those offbeat dance moves in the park. Start the day with a battle. Against the office door, that always says, "Card not recognized," when you're in a rush. Welcome to the extreme game called Swipe In on Time, or you're fired. Barely sat down and already attacked by the ancient enemy. A system update during rush hour. In Office Land, a light desk tap could be mistaken for a full-blown rebellion. Each minute crawls like a century, yet vacations are always buried under 200 emails. End your workday with the ancient art of disappearing, right before the final meeting. Peppa and George were watching the clouds, and today there was a special cloud, a cloud bus. Who needs a real bus when with just imagination, Peppa and George are already flying high? The clouds looked like strange creatures, and Peppa couldn't stop imagining they were dancing with her. Not just a cloud bus. Now there's a cloud elephant greeting them. The ride through these clouds was magical, and they met even more cloud friends. Although the journey was just in their imagination, Peppa and George had an unforgettable adventure. Picnic day. Today, Peppa and George are very excited because the family is going on a picnic. Mommy Pig and Daddy Pig are ready too. The whole family gets in the car. Peppa loves going out, and so does George. Daddy Pig spreads the blanket, and Mommy Pig puts down the picnic basket. Peppa chases a pretty butterfly, and George runs after his sister. Peppa tries to catch the butterfly. Dance to music! It's a dancing day! Peppa turns on some happy music. It's time to start dancing! Peppa starts dancing! She twirls, she hops high, and she wiggles to the beat. Peppa is a talented dancer! Yeah! George wants to spin just like Peppa. He spins, spins, spins. George is spinning so fast, he won't stop spinning. Stop spinning, George! George tries to stop, but he loses his balance. Oh dear, George tumbles onto the floor. Peppa giggles and helps George up. George learned not to spin too fast. Now for some slower, gentle dancing.
Oh.
البوابة السحرية. دقيقة واحدة. اليوم اكتشفت بيبا وجورج شيئاً غريباً في الحديقة. إنها بوابة سحرية. وصلت بيبا إلى شاطئ مشمس مليء بالأمواج. يا لها من مغامرة رائعة. أما جورج فقد وصل إلى حقل زهور ملون. أوه، الزهور أطول منه بكثير. كل واحد منهم وصل إلى مكان مختلف، وكأنها رحلة حول العالم في لحظة. لكن لا مكان أجمل من العودة إلى المنزل. أينما ذهبوا تبقى العائلة معا هي الأجمل. Peppa Pig and the Trash Can Race. Peppa and George discover old trash can vehicles in the yard and come up with a fun idea. Peppa jumps onto a trash can vehicle while George watches curiously.
Let's go!
The race begins. Peppa's trash can zooms ahead. George follows closely, both cheering happily. George accidentally crashes into a pile of toys, making Peppa giggle as she races past.
Yahoo!
The race ends with laughter as the whole family enjoys the moment together.
One lovely morning, Mummy Pig was tidying up the house. Daddy Pig came over with an idea. How about we go on a relaxing family trip?
Aha!
Peppa and George cheered with excitement.
2 hours later.
The whole family quickly got ready, hopped into the car, and set off. On the way, everyone was laughing and chatting happily. When they arrived, Peppa and George eagerly went rowing, while Mummy and Daddy Pig enjoyed a romantic date together.
Ha!
Ha!
Aha!
2 hours later.
Peppa and the surprise gift.
Daddy Pig brings home a very big present. Peppa and George are so excited to see what's inside this mysterious box. One, two, three. Open it! Oh, it's a lovely little play tent. Now, let's set it up for a camping adventure. How wonderful! Peppa and George now have a little house of their own. The indoor camping trip has begun. A very special gift from Daddy Pig. Have a wonderful camping night, Peppa and George.
Peppa and the Flying Teddy Bear. Peppa hugs Teddy in her bedroom. George runs in with a bunch of balloons. Peppa looks at the balloons, then looks at Teddy, then gets an idea. Peppa lifts Teddy up and smiles happily. Peppa ties the balloons to Teddy. Peppa lets go to Teddy, starts to fly. Peppa and George are surprised and run after Teddy. Teddy floats up and gets stuck on a tree branch. Daddy Pig comes in, stands on a chair, and brings Teddy down.
2 hours later.
Peppa and George jump with joy. The whole family laughs happily. One morning, Peppa wakes up and looks around her room. Toys are scattered all over the floor. Books lie in a messy pile on the desk. And the blanket and pillows are all over the bed. Peppa puts her hands on her hips, sighs, but decides she will turn her messy room into a tidy, cozy place. Peppa starts picking up each toy, sorting them by shape and color, then placing them into different boxes. One for cars, one for stuffed animals, and one for building blocks. Each time she closes a lid, she stacks the boxes neatly against the wall. Peppa folds her blanket carefully, smoothing out each corner. While folding, a big teddy bear hidden inside the blanket falls to the floor. Peppa giggles, hugs the bear for a moment, then places it neatly at the head of the bed, right next to her favorite pillow. After dusting the desk and arranging the books neatly, Peppa steps back to look at the whole room. Everything is clean and tidy. The floor is clear and shiny. Peppa lies down on the bed, hugs her teddy bear, and enjoys the cozy feeling of her freshly cleaned room.
Ha! Aha! Yahoo!
Peppa Pig and the opening box. Peppa and George are playing in the living room. In the corner of the room, there is a small cardboard box with its lid slightly open. Daddy Pig is sitting on a chair, and Mummy Pig is sitting beside him. Peppa bends down to look inside the box. George is also curious and leans closer to the box. The box shakes slightly, making both of them jump in surprise. Peppa opens the box completely. Daddy Pig sees it from a distance, so he walks over and leans in to look inside. Inside are a few toys. Peppa holds the toy, and George jumps up excitedly. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig smile. The empty box lies still on the floor.
Peppa Pig and the colorful umbrella. One day, Peppa notices a colorful umbrella in the corner of the room. She picks it up and opens it wide. George stands under the umbrella and looks up at the bright colors. Peppa gently spins the umbrella. George tries spinning the umbrella too and giggles with joy. The colorful umbrella turns into a fun little game for Peppa and George.
Peppa and the leaf on her head. Peppa walks slowly in the garden. A leaf falls down from above. The leaf gently lands on Peppa's head. Peppa doesn't notice and keeps walking. Peppa stops and looks around. The leaf on the head gently wiggles in the breeze. George runs over and looks at Peppa's head. George points and giggles. Peppa reaches up to her head, but can't quite reach it. The leaf falls into Peppa's hand. A gentle breeze blows. The leaf blows away from Peppa's hand. Peppa and George watch it fly away and smile. The leaf swirls gently and falls to the ground. Peppa picks up the leaf and places it on George's head. George stays still for a moment, then smiles. Peppa laughs happily.
Peppa and the Flying Hat. Peppa walks into the yard and sees a hat on the grass. Peppa walks closer and picks up the hat. Peppa puts the hat on and smiles happily. George is playing with a ball nearby when he sees Peppa and the hat. A gentle breeze blows by. The hat on Peppa's head is blown into the air. Peppa watches the flying hat in surprise. The hat floats and lands farther away. Peppa runs after the hat. George runs after her. The hat rolls on the grass and stops. Peppa picks up the hat. They look at each other and laugh happily.
Peppa Pig and the Mountain of Bubbles. Today, Daddy Pig is washing the car, and Peppa and George discover lots of bubbles.
Wow!
Peppa and George think bubbles are amazing. Wow, look at that! A giant mountain of bubbles. Oh dear, Mummy Pig looks so funny as a bubble snowman. Playing with bubbles is fun, but playing together is the best fun of all.
Aha! Hey! Hey!
Wow!
Peppa and the secret tin can phone. Peppa and George are making a special telephone using tin cans and a long piece of string. Peppa whispers secret things into the tin can. George can hear her clearly from all the way in the garden. How magical! Daddy Pig wants to listen too, but he steps back too far and pulls the string tight. Oh dear, Daddy Pig is pulling Peppa right out of the house. It seems this telephone needs a much longer string for Daddy Pig. Everyone is having a big laugh together.
The sunglasses. It's a sunny day. Peppa thinks wearing sunglasses will make her look very stylish. But the sunglasses are much too big for George. He looks like a cheeky little bear. Oh dear, it seems George isn't the only one with sunglasses trouble. Daddy Pig has the opposite problem. Whether sunglasses are too big or too small, the Peppa family always knows how to have fun together. Peppa was surprised to see a strange hat on the grass. Whoa! George ran over and touched it, lights twinkling from the hat.
Whoa!
Peppa put the hat on. Bubbles of light floated across the garden. Magical indeed. George tried the hat too. Bubbles swirling around them, making them laugh out loud. The bubbles rose and settled on the tree branches, sparkling in the sunlight. They took off the hat. Bubbles faded, but the magical joy lingered in the garden. Peppa Family Rainy Day. Peppa is dashing around, giggling with her dinosaur in hand. Despite the rain outside, Peppa and George are happily playing indoors. George is happily playing with his toy airplane. With a little imagination, the living room turns into Princess Peppa's castle, guarded by Sir George the dinosaur. Something's missing. George, come here! Peppa calls out. Oh dear, poor George. That chair is almost bigger than him. All hail King Dinosaur, ruler of the castle. Today is sports day at Peppa's school. All the kids are so excited. The whistle blows. It's time to start. The kids line up neatly under the teacher's guidance. Their faces show excitement and anticipation. What will be the first event? They were both excitedly talking to each other about who ran faster and reached the finish line first. The race begins. The kids run with all their might, their feet flying across the ground. Who will reach the finish line first? One by one, all the others fall behind, leaving only Peppa and Rebecca Rabbit chasing each other at full speed. The cheers from the crowd get louder, and the tension rises. Molly Cat won! Wow, she's so fast! Today is a fun-filled swimming day for Peppa's family. Everyone is excited as they head to the pool for a day of splashing, swimming, and making unforgettable memories together. Everyone steps out from the changing rooms, Peppa and George in their colorful swimsuits. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig are also ready to relax and enjoy a day by the pool. Everyone is putting on their swimsuits, ready for a fun day at the pool. Daddy begins to blow up the float for his little one. Daddy is blowing up the float for his daughter. Now we can go into the water. Hey! Hey! Oh, so it turns out little brother is afraid of the water. It's a beautiful morning at Peppa's house. George Pig really loves to play outside. Mummy, Daddy, and Peppa have already gone out too. Hop in the car. Time to hit the road. George Pig loves going shopping with his family. Peppa and George love going shopping. First, we need to find the bananas.
Oh! Huh? Hey! Hey! Huh? Aha! Yahoo! Wow! Peppa Pig and the Playful Wind. It looks like a perfectly normal afternoon until the wind arrives. The wind blows through the garden as if it wants to join the fun. Leaves begin to swirl around, flying everywhere. Peppa tries to catch a leaf, but the wind is always one step ahead. After a while, the wind seems to get tired and calms down. Peppa and George learn that sometimes invisible things can bring the biggest fun.
On a sunny day, my sister and I decided to go for a walk.
Yahoo!
The two sisters put on their hats carefully before going for a walk, so the sun wouldn't shine on their heads. Suddenly, a big gust of wind blew Sister's hat away. The big sister burst into tears and cried loudly. The little brother went to get help. The giraffe agreed to help the two siblings. Surprisingly, the giraffe was a magician, so he helped the big sister get her hat back very easily. The two siblings were very happy to get their hat back. One clear morning, you and I were still fast asleep. Suddenly, a friend showed up and knocked on the door. close friend smiled and said, "Let's go for a walk, you two." Suddenly, a mysterious object began to leak. It turned the white rabbit pink.
Hey!
Luckily, the strange object managed to retrieve the leaking item just in time. A hot, sunny afternoon. My sister and I were talking and decided to go to the pool to beat the heat. And off they went, all excited, heading to the swimming pool. They arrived and saw their friend happily splashing in the water.
Hey, hey! Okay, let's go!
The little sister jumped into the pool, splashing around happily, while the big sister relaxed and sunbathed on a colorful chair. Peppa Pig and the Mysterious Ladder. Peppa and George notice a small ladder leaning against the wall, curious where it leads. They climb up, hearts racing with excitement to discover the secret above. At the top, they find a small chest filled with old toys and storybooks. They open the chest, laughing and marveling at each item with sparkling eyes. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig join them, and the whole family plays together, enjoying a warm, happy time.
The Egg and Spoon Race. Today, Peppa and George are joining a very special race. The Egg and Spoon Race. The little ones must keep their eggs perfectly balanced.
The race has started. Peppa is in the lead. She is walking very fast and skillfully. Go on, Peppa and George.
Oh, a beautiful butterfly just flew by. Oh no, Peppa got a surprise and the egg has fallen onto the grass. What a pity. Congratulations, George. He made it to the finish line safely. Anyway, it was such a fun race, wasn't it?
It was a bright, breezy morning in Peppa's backyard. As Peppa wandered around, she spotted a colorful umbrella lying forgotten in the corner of the garden. Peppa curiously picked it up, wondering what fun she could have with it. Suddenly, a big gust of wind blew. The umbrella opened wide, lifting Peppa off the ground. She squealed in surprise. Up in the sky, Peppa floated and twirled like a pink bird with a rainbow wing. The wind carried her over the yard, spinning in circles, dipping and soaring. Down below, Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig, and George gasped, then burst into laughter as they watched Peppa's unexpected flight show. The wind slowed down, and Peppa landed gently on the soft grass. Her family rushed over as Peppa waved with a big smile. The pig family arrives at a farm to try being farmers for the day. "We're going to be farmers and take care of the plants," Peppa says. Everyone gets ready to start working on the farm. Peppa and George start watering the plants. "I'm going to water the plants so they can grow big and strong," Peppa says. George helps his sister by watering around the garden. Peppa and George begin to pick ripe tomatoes from the garden. "Look, our tomatoes are ready," Peppa says. The pig family continues to pick vegetables and put them in their baskets. After a hard day's work on the farm, the pig family sits down to enjoy the vegetables they just picked. "We can eat what we've grown with our own hands," Daddy Pig says. Everyone enjoys a meal and feels proud of their hard work. After a hard day's work, the pig family sits down to rest. "Being a farmer is fun, but I like playing more," Peppa says. Daddy Pig laughs and says, "Helping on the farm is good, but playing is fun too." The whole family laughs and feels proud of their work. It's a beautiful day, and Peppa and George go to the park with Daddy Pig, bringing along their colorful new kite. Daddy Pig excitedly runs as fast as he can to make the kite fly high. But Daddy Pig suddenly trips over a rock. The kite still soars up high, but then gets stuck on the statue's ear in the park. Peppa and George look up, both surprised and giggling. A strong gust of wind blows through, pulling the kite down and covering Daddy Pig's head. He stumbles around blindly, while Peppa and George burst into fits of giggles. What was supposed to be a simple trip to the park turns into an unexpected comedy show. The wind blows stronger, making the kite slip right out of Daddy Pig's hand and swirl around in the sky. Peppa and George run after it, giggling and reaching up to catch it. Daddy Pig hurries along too, but quickly becomes out of breath. Today, Peppa and George have found an old car tire in the garden. It's round and shiny black, looking rather mysterious. Peppa has an idea. Let's roll it. So, the two begin pushing the tire around the garden, giggling as it wobbles along. But, oh dear, the tire suddenly rolls away, right down the little slope outside. Peppa and George gasp and chase after it. Their tiny feet scramble as fast as they can, dust flying everywhere, while the tire rolls faster and faster and faster. The tire bounces straight into the vegetable patch. Thump! A carrot shoots into the air. Whoosh! Lettuces tumble all over the ground. Daddy Pig, who was watering the plants, looks up in surprise. He rubs his eyes in disbelief. A naughty tire is wrecking the whole garden. Daddy Pig hurries over, ready to scold them. But when he sees Peppa and George laughing loudly in the puddle, he can't help but laugh too. Mud sprays everywhere. Their clothes are filthy, but everyone is happy. For Peppa and George, even an old car tire can turn into the best game ever. Peppa and George are playing with a balloon in the park. A strong gust of wind blows the balloon up into the sky. Peppa looks up at the balloon, startled. George points at the sky, following the balloon with his eyes. Peppa and Daddy Pig start running after the balloon, trying to keep up as it flies higher. Peppa and Daddy Pig run across the grassy field, their legs moving quickly. George runs behind, watching the balloon and smiling. Peppa and Daddy Pig spot the balloon caught in a tree branch. Peppa points at the tree, excited to see the balloon. Daddy Pig uses a long stick to try and reach the balloon from the tree. Peppa hops around happily. Peppa and Daddy Pig are happy to have rescued the balloon. Peppa holds the balloon in her hands, smiling. George jumps up joyfully. The pig family sits down together and continues to play in the park. One morning, George wakes up and looks around his room. Toys are scattered all over the floor. Books lie in a messy pile on the desk. And the blanket and pillows are all over the bed. George puts, he hands on, he hips, sighs, but decides he will turn a messy room into a tidy, cozy place. George starts picking up each toy, sorting them by shape and color, then placing them into different boxes. One for cars, one for stuffed animals, and one for building blocks. Each time George closes a lid, George stacks the boxes neatly against the wall. George folds his blanket carefully, smoothing out each corner. While folding, a big teddy bear hidden inside the blanket falls to the floor. George giggles, hugs the bear for a moment, then places it neatly at the head of the bed, right next to her favorite pillow. After dusting the desk and arranging the books in order, George steps back to look at the whole room. Everything is clean and tidy, the floor is clear and shiny. George lies down on the bed, opens a picture book, and enjoys the cozy feeling of George's freshly cleaned room. Hey! Hey!
Ah.
Peppa and the missing glasses. Oh dear, Daddy Pig has lost his glasses again. He can't see anything clearly without them. Peppa and George help Daddy Pig look for them. They check everywhere, from under the rug to behind the pictures on the wall. Look! Peppa has spotted something. Daddy Pig, your glasses are actually right on top of your head.
Aha!
Daddy Pig is so forgetful. Everyone is having a big laugh over this silly mistake.
It's a beautiful day, and Peppa and George go to the park with Daddy Pig, bringing along their colorful new kite. Daddy Pig excitedly runs as fast as he can to make the kite fly high. But Daddy Pig suddenly trips over a rock. The kite still soars up high, but then gets stuck on the statue's ear in the park. Peppa and George look up, both surprised and giggling. A strong gust of wind blows through, pulling the kite down and covering Daddy Pig's head. He stumbles around blindly, while Peppa and George burst into fits of giggles. What was supposed to be a simple trip to the park turns into an unexpected comedy show. The wind blows stronger, making the kite slip right out of Daddy Pig's hand and swirl around in the sky. Peppa and George run after it, giggling and reaching up to catch it. Daddy Pig hurries along too, but quickly becomes out of breath.
Peppa Pig and the melting cake. Peppa is very excited about the cake, especially on a sunny day like this. But the sun has its own plans for the cake. The cake seems to be changing shape right before their eyes. Peppa tries to save the cake, but the sunshine doesn't cooperate. Even though it's no longer perfect, the cake still looks delicious. Peppa and George learn that sometimes fun doesn't need to be perfect to be sweet.
Huh? Aha!